Thank you for joining me on Ready Aim Stamp. Today's cards were inspired from a Pinterest pin that led to a link by Tracy Bish. I believe that's how you say her name. She's an independent demonstrator out of Australia, and she had done some older in 2019 cards with the same kind of idea, with an image in the center and then the color around the outside. So we are going to be doing these cards, and we're going to use Stampin' Up's masking paper and to achieve this look. And then I'm going to also share a couple other cards that I made using masking paper, but with a little bit of a different flair. These ones are more of the simple stamping, tone on tone, except for this one was the first one I did, and I wasn't sure what color I was going to use, and I wanted to show that you could also make it stand out with black. But I really, really like this matting with the same colors. These are the Tahitian Tide, and I believe this one's the Orchid, Sweet Sorbet, and Parakeet Party. So let's get started. I guess real quick before we do get started, so this image right here came from Nature's Prints, and you can see the pretty halo around it. There is a coordinating die that helped me cut that out. This little flower was also from Nature's Print and had a coordinating die. And these pretty leaves were from Nature's Prints and also have a die. This image here came from a celebration set, Wonderful World, and I did not have a die, so I fussy cut around the image, and I'm going to use today this rose from Wonderful World and show you how I fussy cut, because running the masking paper through the die machine is really simple. So not only did Stampin' Up! Bring us masking paper, but in the July through December 2022 mini catalog, there is this awesome little toolkit called the Embossing Editions Toolkit. They brought back the embossing buddy. Yay! These little tweezers. And then there's a brush to help you clean out your little overspill tray. And the tray has a little end that unscrews so that you can pour your powder back into the container when you're done. And we're going to use this because I really like the look of an embossed image in the center of that massive color. So I'm going to grab this piece is 3 3/4 by 5, I believe. And it is going to be our centerpiece. I've also cut a piece of Sweet Sorbet that is 5 1/4 by 4, so that it can kind of go just like that layer. All right, so first we're going to go ahead and use our little embossing buddy and get any oils and things that would make our ink stick to there out of the way. And then we're going to take the Sweet Sorbet stamp pad and my Versamark stamp pad and our little rose. And first we are going to ink it up with the Versamark, because that is what is going to make the clear embossing powder stick. Then we're going to ink it onto the Sweet Sorbet. And stamp wherever we want, off to the side maybe. All right, beautiful image. And we're going to add the clear embossing powder. I like to try to contain it as best as I can. It doesn't always happen, but all right, clean that up a little bit. And we're going to heat that up. I always have a hard time getting it to find my image where I need my heat to go. There we go. Let's see it changing as it melts that powder. Okay. So now I could probably go ahead and ink on my masking paper. Yeah, that might have been okay. But I'm going to go ahead and ink this stamp up again so I have a nice crisp image to view on my masking paper. The masking paper comes in 5x7 sheets, and you get 12 sheets to a package. Oh, whoops, that was the cardboard piece I was trying to pull out. And on the back, right down the middle, there's a split to help you open it if you want to use that. And I'm going to try to conserve my paper though, so I'm just going to go down on the corner here. And I'm just going to stamp there. Beautiful. All right, so now I want to cut around my flower. And I want to leave a little halo around my image, so I'm going to try to do the best I can to make it look like kind of like a die cut. And just kind of follow that outline, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just to give me a little space in between my image that I'm going to mask off and the layer of color that I'm going to put down with my blending brush. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to peel off that paper. Maybe. Maybe I should have kept that little back. All right, there we go. Got it started. And then I'm just going to place this little sticky, and it's definitely sticky, but it's repositionable and it's not permanent. Obviously, that's what repositionable means. But it can be reused again. So that's kind of nice. Have some stray powder, embossing powder there. All right, so then I'm going to take my Sweet Sorbet again and my blending brush. And I'm going to pick up that ink. And then starting on the sticker, I'm just going to start adding on ink until it's as dark and saturated as I want it to be around that rose issue. Image. Rose image. Looks like I got a little there. You just kind of keep adding on your ink. I like the look when you go kind of in the circles and it gets from darker in the center to lighter outside, kind of an ombre-ish. All right. So, oops. Before we go, we can add. So on these ones, I just added the little phrases. On this one, I just inked the splotch from Nature's Prints in my embossing, or in my Versamark, and then embossed it in clear. And I think that's really pretty. I haven't decided what I want to do on this one. whether I want to, maybe we'll do this. We'll just reuse that image and kind of put it around. That'll make 5 total. We'll see how that looks. Hopefully I didn't mess up my picture. Okay, I'm going to put stuff away and let this kind of dry off just a tad. All right, and I decided that from Nature's Prints, we're going to put hello there up in the left-hand corner. So, and again, I am going to use that clear embossing powder to emboss it in my Sweet Sorbet. Just keeping to the monotone, I guess, or tone on tone look. Okay. All right, we'll heat that up and I'll be right back. So now we are ready to remove our mask and be amazed. Ta-da! Beautiful. And I'm going to bring in my basic white card base. And we'll use our multi-purpose glue just to assemble these layers. Let me come back in a little bit, or zoom out a little bit. Really like this Sweet Sorbet color. I think it's very pretty. When I did my fingernail polish today, I thought I might have some that might kind of match it, but I didn't, so I had to stick with a more neutral color. All of mine were too pink. And here we have simple yet very pretty card, just using the same tones and using that masking. I love the little halo that we get around there, distinguishing that image. All right, so that was our first style of card. And now for the bonus cards, I used the masking paper to mask off these images. The butterfly is actually this one from Butterfly Brilliance, and I just used my Stamparatus and inked this butterfly up with a Stampin' Write marker, and then I stamped it on there, cut out around here. You can kind of see a little halo where I didn't, either the sticker wasn't down far enough or I cut a little farther out. And then I had used this flower, and I used my Stampin' Write markers to color the stamp, and then I huffed on it, and first I stamped there, and then I decided it needed some more so that it looked like the butterfly was sitting on top of the flowers or flying in front of them. So then I stamped it a second time. And then for these sweet caroling mice, I stamped and made a mask out of this little short one first, and I decided this must be a mama mouse because the baby mouse is stepping on her tail when I ended up stamping them. But then I stamped this and this over that mask, and I'll show you what the mask looks like after being stamped. The mask will look muddy and your picture will look muddy until you take that mask off, and then it's just really fun. So I thought I would kind of just show you real quick. I know it's not really something you probably need to be shown, but I have some basic white, and it is Evening Evergreen cardstock, and then another piece of the basic white. The card base is a standard A2. It's cut at 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. This piece is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then this one is 3 3/4 by, I want to say, or maybe it's 3.5. Hold on, let me look. 3.5 by 4 3/4. So a little bit more of that Evening Evergreen will show on the outside. So I am going to start with Early Espresso, and I'm using the Campology set. I don't know if I already said that. And I'm going to use the tint and the trees. So I'm going to stamp the tint with that Early Espresso. And if you get these little ring edges, you might kind of clean them off with your finger, a Q-tip if you don't like to get your finger all messy. I'm just gonna stamp that on there. And then just so that when I'm cutting it out, I have a nice crisp image, I am going to ink it up again and then stamp it on that masking paper. This is a little piece I had. And I will cut that out. When you want it to look like an image that is in front of another image, it actually works if you cut just inside that outer line or right on top of that outer line, because your paper is a little bit, even though it's pretty thin, it will still cause a little bit of a halo effect that you might not want on this particular one. And I'm just going to go to there. So there's my mask. And we're going to pull this release paper off. Maybe. I thought I would have better luck using the tool. There we go. All right. Then I'm going to just line that up. All right, so there's our mask. We're going to take the Evening Evergreen and the trees. I'm going to ink them up. And then we're just going to line it up over top of our tent. Okay, so there is kind of a little halo still around my tent. If I had the Stamparatus, if I'd used it, I could have tried to go back over it and get rid of that halo, but I didn't. So pull this, oops. I'm separating my masking paper from itself. All right. Just pull my mask off. And there we have our tent in the woods. And we can color it with colored pencils or the Stampin' Blends or even the Stampin' Write markers, however we want to do that. I went ahead and colored with colored pencil my little camping scene. And then I'm bringing in the Very Best Trio punch, and I think I might just keep it to a simple where I punch off the corners. Okay. And now we're ready to assemble our card. This layer of Evening Evergreen cardstock. Here we go, and then we're just going to go ahead and glue our focal point on. And you have a very fun scene using the masking. Thank you so much for joining me on Ready Aim Stamp.